And it's a very important topic in our life today because one of the greatest problems of humanity and in understanding self is the loss of mentality. A lot of human beings were wired with the wrong mentality. And once you are wired with the wrong mentality, whatever you do, you keep struggling because you are wired with the wrong mentality. The success or development or prospect of any individual or of any nation is incumbent on the mentality at which that nation is wired. Today I'm going to be talking about a couple of mentalities that we have been wired with that are wrong in our country. The number one mentality that we've been wired with that is wrong is that you can get away with evil as long as you know people. That mentality is a wrong mentality. Because if we have a society where people do not have retribution for actions, then we don't have a society. If we have a society where people can get away with murder because they know people, then we do not have a society. But one of our biggest mentality problems is that as long as you know people, you can get away with illegitimacy. We even fashion this mentality under the subtext of, the person will change. Yes, the person will change does not mean that we should condone evil when evil is done. The person will change does not mean that we should condone destruction when destruction is meted out and is made the lot of a lot of people. This mentality carries on into many affairs of our lives. People that are not qualified, that don't meet the threshold to get into university, are allowed to get into university because of this mentality. People that do not do things right in universities are allowed to pass with flying colors just because they sleep with the lecturer in university. The mentality is the fact that you can get away with anything as long as you know people. It is that mentality that has given birth to a society of people that have disrespect for the rule of law and they think they can get away with anything. It is that mentality that has birthed a new set of people, ladies and men, that all they do is to sell sex. Anyway, that's their prerogative. They have no tangible work to do, but they go by just because they know people. Some will argue with me and say, Rufai, that's lobbying, why are you so conservative and all of that? But we forget in a hurry that a society is the sum total of value being added for development. So once you lack that mentality, you lack what is right to be able to sustain society. You build a society of illegitimacy. Some other people will argue with me and say, Rufai, no, at least people get away with it in other parts of the world. Because people get away with it in other parts of the world does not make illegitimacy, crime, criminality, and bad things be tenable in any society. Because what it builds is, it builds a level of repression. So those that do not have the kind of access you have, they are left behind in society. Some are going to argue and say, but is that not the way society functions, the stronger and the weaker? But we forget that a society that denigrates the poor is not a strong society. A society that only accounts for the strong and not for the weak is not a strong society. And that's why Nigeria is becoming a weak society, because we leave the poor behind. So that's the first mentality. Once I have money, I can get away with anything. People can break all sorts of laws. People can even shoot other human beings, and as long as they have money, they will say, let's settle out of court. They will pay the person they shot a lot of money, and they'll forget about the case. And even the police will be there to broker the peace. and even the legal system will be there. But you see, increasingly, when this continues unabated, you start to lose the trajectory and the joy of what a society is. And it only continues because nobody stops it. And the failure you have becomes systematic. If it happens once, it can happen again. If injustice happens once, it can happen again. If you can bribe people in authority once, you'll be able to bribe them again. Once it happens once, there's no capacity to be able to stop it. And it becomes repetitive. So the burden of society today has become that of people that get their way as long as they know people. They get their way as long as they can put their body down for sex. They get their way as long as they can give money to authorities. Yes, they can get their way. They can give them let my people go. But the question is, does it build society? No. Even when people argue and say, oh, we should not be too righteous, we should not be too sanctimonious. But it is righteousness that exalts a nation. Have you ever wondered why the Bible talks about righteousness being only the forthright thing that exalts a nation? Sin is a reproach. So when you have a nation that is reproached, it's as a result of the constancy of the reproach of society we have developed. And when you develop that, it becomes problematic in the long run because nothing moves in the society. It is only illegality that moves. Because the truth has to be said. When illegality moves, it envelopes the trajectory of society and destroys the fabric of society. And you see, the thing about illegality is that there will be people that will support it and defend it because they are benefiting from it, or because the people they support are benefiting from it. But it doesn't make it right. And many years down the line, the people that are speaking up against illegalities today will be the true heroes, while the people that supported it will be the true losers. Because the truth has to be said, you cannot build a society on things that are not right and are not just. So that's the first mentality we need to make do with. We need to push away from our society. We have a society today where all the wrong things are praised as good because we've built a society on the wrong pedestal, and everything right and righteous is not right. That's one. The second mindset that heralds our society today is that as long as it doesn't concern me, every other person can go and die. That's another mindset that is destroying our society. As long as it doesn't concern me, every other person can go and die. And that's the society we have built where we don't take care of the poor, where a lot of people are trampled upon, where their rights are destroyed. That is what we have systematically built, and that's why today we have well over 130 million poor people. As long as you can make money for yourself and your family, it doesn't concern me. The truth is, when you make this money for yourself and your family, are you going to live in isolation from the reality of your society? And the so-called society you relocate to, you forget in a hurry that it is justice, equity, fairness, and capacity to do good that build such society. Is that what you forget in a hurry? So we have multiple platforms now. We are streaming on YouTube at 90.3 FM. A lot of carriers are also carrying us. We're live on radio, 90.3 terrestrial radio in Lagos and other parts of the world. We're also going to be on Spotify, the live stream on Spotify doesn't have a live stream. So we're going to record this and put it on Rufai Speaks podcast on Spotify so you can listen to it again. So And we forget in a hurry. And we're also streaming on Facebook. Rufai is saying it, so you can watch that stream too. So we forget in a hurry that what really builds society is the ability to be able to care for people that will never be as big or better than you. A society where you have too many people telling you, do you know how rich I am? Then you know that society is a poor society. And that's why we have the problems we have in our society today, where people base their entire value on how wealthy they are. If you have to tell the world that, see, I pay, I do this, I do that, I'm worth over this, I'm worth over that, I'm worth this, I make a lot of money, then it means you're a poor man. Because people that are truly making a lot of money don't need to tell the world. The only way the world knows that people are making a lot of money is the impact on the lives of people. If your money is not impacting the lives of other people, then definitely your money is denigrating the lives of other people. It has to be one way. So, truth has to be said. A society that says we don't care for others, then it's not a society. So whatever you have you thought about the person close to you? What is your relationship with the person close to you? I keep telling people, a husband and wife is fighting as your neighbor. You don't even go to their house and check on them and say, please, you people stop. Let's find peace. The day the husband will kill the wife in the house, hope you know, you will be part of the witness. Police will ask questions because you live in the same apartments. So this mindset of, it concerns my neighbor, it doesn't concern me. Your neighbor's problem becomes your problem. And that's how society is built. It takes a village to raise a child. All of this we used to have before. But now, it has gone out of our societal consciousness. Because what we have become is we have become so cautious and conscious about money, about selfishness, about our own, about how we can be better than others. And that's why we live in a society where, bad enough, we cannot provide electricity for ourselves. But when we buy a generator to pollute our environment even further, we call it I better pass my neighbor. So we are always in a competition. We are always willing to show that we are better than another person. But the truth has to be told. We were not like this before. We were a very close-knit society. I was telling somebody the other day, in African society, when we had villages and societal structures, across everywhere, we had something called Agbole, and they were hardly destitute. If you had come to it's African society in the 1700s, you will hardly find destitute. Because everybody came from a homestead. And in the 9th, before the homestead shuts their gates, they will ask, has Lagbaja's daughter coming? Has Tamedu's daughter coming? Has Ishioma coming? Has Ifoma coming? Has Kabiru coming? Has Musa coming? And everybody will be accounted for. And even if there were people that were broken amongst them, they will bring them into the homestead and take care of them. But you see, the minute you started to veer off the hitherto structures of the African society, we started to have destitutes amongst us. Having destitute was not an African thing. Hitherto was not always our lot on the African continent. It was when we veered off our hitherto original societal structure in Africa, we started to have destitute. We have a society that cared for each other. Even if it was a small thing, nobody went hungry. Because when people cooked, different quarters will cook in the homestead. And they will bring the food to the quadrangle. And everybody will sit and eat out of the food in the quadrangle. And elderly people then started the mentorship by giving the smaller children of the quadrangle little pieces of meat to eat. That's how we built our society in Africa. You will see, the other people will bring meat, eat out of it, put it in the mouth of little ones, sometimes even feed the little ones to ensure that society becomes a lot better. And that's how we built our society. We had a society before that elderly ones used to care for the little ones. But today, we now have a society where some elderly ones, all they think of is to get into the panties of the 20-year-olds and the 30-year-olds. So we've lost the trajectory of society. And if we do not go back to that model where we should truly care for people around us, then how can we build a society? Because there is nothing you have today you will take away with you. I keep telling people that. Today, since my father died, the home where I shared my childhood memories, everything is all locked up. Why? My father has died. I have gone to chase my career. My siblings have gone to chase their career. They live in many other parts of the world. They are scattered all over the world. So who lives there? Tenants, probably. So the so-called house you claim you own, you don't own anything. Don't deceive yourself. The only place you truly own is 6 feet under the ground. That's the truth. The greatest real estate you truly own till eternity is just 6 feet dug under the surface of the ground. That's your only real estate. No matter how much land and acres you acquire, the true real estate you own is just 6 feet dug under the ground. So the moment you realize that, how about you using your wealth to better society? Because this idea of, let me be selfish for me and my friends alone. How about you using your wealth to better society? Me, I've decided that one of the things I'll use to better society is media. That's why I keep growing a lot of media. And that's why, as much as possible, any little resource I have, that God gives me, I'll keep putting it into media. To be able to be heard every part of the world, to be able to better the prospect of society. Because I know that once people get in alignment with mindset change, with messages like this, society starts to become a whole lot better. And definitely, how can I mentor a lot of people and use media to be able to amplify the prospect of people is my sole priority. So this is my calling. This is my way. But you see, a lot of people don't get it. They don't understand that when we build society, we build ourselves. When we see evil and we speak about it, we are preventing other evil from happening. The best way to shun evil is to speak about it, and so that people that have done evil, let them own up to it. Even if people try to muscle other people that are speaking the truth down, the truth is, the truth will germinate one day. And that's why you see, it is the evil one that run away. It is the evil ones that run away. So let us be careful. Let us stop that mindset that it does not concern me because it's happening to my brother. Every of my brother's concern is my concern. So what should we do? Let us see how we can bring more people out of poverty. Let us see how we can build more libraries. Let us see how we can build more universities. I personally, it's one of my dreams to build a university. And why do I want to? Because I know I have a lot of knowledge to pass on to the next generation. And I want to teach as much as possible. I want to teach leadership. I want to teach ethics. I want to teach development as much as possible. So I want to build a university. I also want to build healthcare because I know there's a lot we can do in healthcare for people. I also want to build, a lot of business structures for people and businesses because I know there's a lot we can do in terms of entrepreneurship. The essence of society is building all of this to grow society. See, I'll tell you the story of a man that uses money to build society. A certain man called Flagler had made a lot of money from the oil sector when the oil boom came. But guess what he did? He built up a new society. There was a little place out there that had just been acquired, I think, from the Mexican, and nobody saw possibility in the place. But guess what? Flagler started building the place. He built hotels there, built infrastructure. He built a little city. He encouraged a lot of people to come to the place. He built rail lines to get to the place. At some point, they decided to name this place after Flagler. But he said, no, don't name it after me. I just want to be the man to use my money to build a place. Today, everybody around the world wants to go to that place because a man built the place. Do you know where the place is? Miami. A certain man called Flagler built most of the infrastructure in Miami today. Built a city from scratch. Today the world wants to come to Miami because of what Flagler built. In fact, a lot of people are tackling me. I can see somebody here, even Evan Fave on Facebook. He's saying, even the 6 feet is not totally yours afterwards. And it's quite correct. Because once you are crushed into the sand, and you're dead, you're gone, you don't have property, you become manure for the land. It's as simple as that. So even the 6 feet is not fully yours. You decompose in the end. So, truth has to be said. You truly own nothing. And I think, let me repostulate that theory by saying the thing you truly own is the place you live in the hearts of people. That's what you truly own. The place you live in the hearts of people. Let me rephrase that. You don't own any earthly property. What you own is the place you live and the memories you live in the hearts of people. The impact you make in the hearts of people. Those are your real estate. I think a man's worth should be recalculated. I think Forbes got it all wrong. When Forbes say we have $50 billion in assets, bank balance. No, I think that's not the real worth of a man. The real worth of a man is the impact he leaves in the lives of other people. I think now we should be calculating that by the measure of the impact that people leave in the life of other people. That's the second sermon. Oh, powerful. I see my brother G. Achievable Morris watching all the way from Liberia and all of that. Let me give you the number. I want to be able to